You know, it's not easy to wrap your mind around things that are God-centered. How do I do that? How do I wrap my mind around God saying, "Hey, Father Steadman, I want to talk to you." What do I do? What would you do if God came to you and said, "Listen, I need to talk to you"? And God did need to talk to Abraham, even though he was old, probably about as old as I am, maybe a little older, and said, "I have something for you to do." And Abraham thinks, well, what about the next generation? He was a forward thinker. And God said, "Don't worry about that." He said, "But I don't have any children. I have Eliezer, and he's not my son." And the Lord said, "Yeah, you're going to have a son. Don't worry about that." Excuse me, at my age, I worry about it a lot. It's one of those things that doesn't happen. The other part of the Genesis story that I'm confused about, and if you can make sense of it better than I, then please locate me at coffee and tell me. We have animals, large animals, halved and laid apart, except for the birds. You couldn't have the bird, so you probably put the pigeon on one side and the dove on the other. I don't know. And you fell into a deep, dark sleep. And a torch passed between these two halves. Now, if the Old Testament is trying to say these are two separate Israels, that I get. But God didn't talk about that. He talked about giving a land from a river in Iran, the Euphrates, all the way to Egypt. Okay. I still don't know what the animals are for. I don't need to. But I do need to know that Abram obeyed what God asked him to do. He obeyed. Paul, writing to the Philippians. Now, Paul had founded that church in 50 A.D. The historians say that this epistle was written in 60 A.D. in Rome by Paul, who was in jail. Okay? But he loves these people. He really cares about them. He must have. He worked hard to found a church there, and 10 years later, it's still going. That's no light accomplishment in their day. Not in Philippi. Pretty big place. And their church was still going. And Paul loved them. Our gospel. I'm confused by the gospel, and I'll bet there are two people here who can tell me why I'm confused. Jesus is wandering around. Did my thing fall off? No. He's wandering around Israel, but he's within 3 or 4 days' walk of Jerusalem. Now the Pharisees come to him. These are the same Pharisees that followed him and dogged him and did everything they could to discredit him. That's what has me confused. The bishop says that there were some Pharisees that liked Jesus, and I prefer to think these were the ones who said, you better get going because Herod wants to kill you. And Jesus, other than telling Satan to get behind him, when one of his apostles got out of line, said, you go tell that fox. Go tell that fox. I'm curing, I'm healing, I'm casting out demons. And it is impossible for a prophet to be killed outside Jerusalem. How often he said, as a hen gathers her brood under her wings in safety, have I wanted to draw the people of Israel, the people of Jerusalem, to myself, but they would not come. They would not come. Have you ever tried to wrap your arms or your mind around something like loving that many people? Just loving them. Warts and all. Never mind. They're your people. Love them. Christ felt that kind of love, and we need to feel that kind of love in our hearts and in our minds, knowing that we are in that group. When Christ says he wants to gather us to him, then we should go. He loves us, we belong to him, and we should go.